Hello everyone, a warm welcome to our next project in our SAPUI5 for beginner series. I know it has been a bit late as I was caught up in other things, and I've been getting a feedback of what about the SAPUI5 for 10 SAPUI5 project for beginner series. So finally it is resuming. At least in this one we'll try to learn something new as we have always learned in the previous projects. In this current video I thought of making something, because we have been using different elements and everything, right? But what about third-party libraries, right? So that's where something which where my mind brought into uh, uh, the develop something where we use some third-party libraries. For example, barcode scanning, right? Now everyone needs a barcode scanning, right? Some needs, and I know there are plenty full of plugins and everything is available, but for this project what we'll use one more barcode plugin, a web plugin, right, using which you can do a scanning also. So the plugin which I'm talking about is, we'll use a plugin scanned it. Okay, so scanned it, it has a very dynamic plugin. Okay, it has the camera plugin is so fast. It's like it continuously scan things. You can see on my right, this mobile, it can scan all the barcodes at one go. And normally in case of other plugins, it is like it switches on, then you have to again on and switch off and on. It is not like continuous scanning. So this scanned it has this great functionality. It can scan continuously. So why I thought of doing this is because I was using it somewhere else. I cracked it in one of other development, and I thought of why not make a project of it and let everyone knows, because everyone needs scanning these days. And the good thing is, although this is a paid one, but at least we can have a trial for 1 month. Okay, so we will have a trial for 1 month, and we will see how do we use it. Okay, so what our app will be do is, basically we'll make an app where you will have two footer buttons: start camera, stop camera, and then in between you will see the camera being switched on. And the good thing is, we'll show you how do we make this webcam scan a barcode. So it will be like a combination of both. All right, so we'll make a barcode scanning app today. So without wasting further much time, let me quickly use our template. So, oh, one second, I want to name it something else, and it has named it my UI5. So we'll name it something like scanning project, and it will be again in com.t namespace. It will be static one XML. Let's call it main. That will be local one. Yes. So as we have done it, so you can see there is already a folder which has come, right? So meanwhile, so how do we basically, so the, okay, let's first search that what we intend to do. Okay, so maybe let me open again the, so here, because what we are trying to do is, we are trying to use a library which is of a third-party library in our SAPUI5 app. That is first thing which we will learn, and then we will see how to be scan it using the external buttons, right? So if I go to developers, and if I go to documentation, let's just see what it is. So it has a quick start guide. So it provides us with something like a JavaScript file which you need to use, right? and then you need to have an HTML element needs to be added, right? So if you look at this, so somewhere in our view we need to have this HTML element added, this div, and then somewhere this needs to be configured, right? Where it says that you configure this, your license key is needed, we'll talk about it. And then it says once it starts scanning, then you can show it, right? So first is what we will do is let's just copy this and try to open it. Okay, this is a JavaScript file. What I will do is I'll just copy everything, Control C, right? And then still being run, it is okay. What we'll do is we'll create a new folder here in under web app, not under web app, let's create it under resources. Okay, so in resources we'll create a new folder and I will call it as libs, library, libs, whatever you want to call it. And so inside library we'll have a file name scanned.js. okay, and I will just copy paste whatever we have copied. I just press save. So far somewhere I have saved this, right? So let me hide it, let it work. So we have our file of scanned barcode external library stored somewhere locally, right? But how do we kind of reload it or load it once our application loads, right? What we need to do? So for that, what we can do is there are two ways. One is you can load it asynchronously using, like, for example, in main controller you can define your own module, right? You can load it here and then do stuff, right? But what we want is we want to load it as soon as the app loads, right? So how do we do that? So for that you need to go to manifest.json, okay, and inside it you will see this resources, right? So all you need to do is there is a CSS resource attached, right? And what I will do is I'll add our JavaScript resource which is to be loaded. Let me just copy this, okay, and then I give it the path. For example, in our case it is resources slash libs slash scanned.it.js, scanned.it.js, right? And maybe let's just provide the name also of it, which is optional, but let's do it scanned.it.js. So now what we expect is as soon as this app loads, we shall see this file being loaded automatically, right? And let's just look at our view. So our view has a main view, right? And it has nothing but a page, right? And if you look at the documentation, it says it needs a placeholder where in which it will open that app, right? As in it will that at that div id will act as a container for it, right? So we need some HTML1 tag, right? But okay, which is okay, perfectly fine. So let's do this, that maybe we go to our app and we say XML HTML, right? We will define our tags, okay, and we will provide the locations. Okay, so we have this loaded, very good. So now we can, you have this HTML tags we can use, right, to define our div. So maybe what I can do is under this, let's define a placeholder which we call it as HTML div, and id, what id it has given, we'll give the same one for the heck of it, right? Candidate item barcode or picker. Okay, let's just give the same one. Okay, and then I close it basically. So our placeholder is there, right? And we have a placeholder, we have app being loaded, right? Let me just check if it is done. It is done. Okay, so let me just put let's start the UI5 serve dot slash UI module slash UI5. I forgot to go into the directory, so maybe let me just copy path cd. Okay, so our app is running, and maybe just let's maybe check here localhost. Nothing fancy. It has the title and everything is fine, and there are messages which is okay, but there are some errors, and I'm trying to see. Okay, so far it is loading, which is perfectly fine. So now, but there's nothing like our there's nowhere we can see our uh, you know any camera being opened or anything happening. But good thing is it is already being loaded. Okay, and we don't have anything. So first what we'll do is we'll need a button, right, somewhere in the footer to get it started. For example, we can have let me just open this, because we are using page, so I want to use some button which will be at the bottom here and in the footer, and then we can use it to kind of uh, call, start camera, hide camera and all, right? So if I go to bar, okay, so bar is page, yeah, this one, these ones we need, and for them we have something like footer. Okay, okay, let me just copy it, and let me just hide this. We'll add some content here, right? And but it should be in the footer, right? And yeah, it is up to the footer, so we'll say footer, right? And let's just see, does it make any changes? Let it run. It did not load. Let me, oh, I missed the closing tag here. Sometimes you do mistakes while copy pasting also, so hopefully now it loads fine. But I'm not interested in having it here. Something we want it to be left, right and middle, those kind of thing. On left you have a button of starting, and on right you have a button which is like you have for uh, stopping, but here it is everything in the corner. So for that, let's just go back. Let's look at this sapm.bar, right, because we are using this bar. And this bar has anything left, center, right, left, center. Yes. So it has content left, content middle, content right aggregation. So any buttons, anything you want to place on left, you add it under this aggregation. Middle, for this you use this aggregation. Right, you use this. So we'll use that. So let's just open our code, and what we will do is we will not put an overflow toolbar. What we will do is we'll have a bar, okay, then under content left, okay, under content left we will have something, right, and under content right, we will have something, right? What we'll have is those buttons, right? So what we can have is uh, let me copy that button column. So this should be on the left, this should be on the right, and it should be start scanning. If you want, you can add a icon also, stop scanning. Let's just look at it. Cannot add direct child without default aggregation defined for SAP at handle child. Okay, what did I miss? This is what is bad. These are all in caps, and I'm so now it shall work. Let it roll. Meanwhile, let's just add our see, it is working. Start scanning, stop scanning, and meanwhile let's also add our button also have some, method being called. For example, just beautify it. What selection? I want it to call press equal to start scanning, right? And here it is simple stop scanning, no rocket science, right? And then what next? So now I think our basic structure in place. Now we need to add something from scanned IT, right? This code somewhere, right? But if you look at here, there is also this key here is needed. Okay, we'll see that. But meanwhile, let me just copy this, right? And we want it to start when we have push start scanning button, right? And we can define our button start scanning function, right? And we can have our stop scanning also, right? So now we have our button, but how do we get this license key, right? For that, it's very simple. All you need to do is just register, right? And then you can create a new scanning key. For example, I'll just log in, and if I go here to license keys, and you need to click here, and you will say scanner scanning. Since we don't have the URL, you can just say example.com. That will also work. It will create license key, and you can then click here, copy it, right, and paste it here. The all the steps to be followed, right, are the same. It's like for creation, it's typically you register and you provide it, right? It's 30 days validity. So now we have our this thing configured on start. When you press start scanning, this code will run, and we have also given our scanned barcode picker, which is also correct. And then we have basically um, given this which barcode to scan. That is also perfectly fine. So hopefully let's see how it works. So if I go here, go to scanning, and if I just click here on start scanning, a valid origin HTML must be given. Okay, so that means it is not able to find the scanned IT. Let's just click here, scanned IT. Because why? Because you see this? Because SAPUI5 framework automatically adds its own prefixes while generating those the views, right? So that's why you see this parent is container scanning, then ID app control is our app, then it has this. So somehow we need to get this done, right? And for this, it is very straightforward. What you can do is, let me open it here, and if I just breakpoint, there is a function which is like this dot get view dot create id, right? And whatever you will pass to it, for example, let's just pass over this, right? It shall automatically generate that id. Bad word spellings. You see, this is the same id which we have, so we need this, right? And we need to configure this, and what we will do is, let's just open our code, right? And here what we will do is, instead of this, right, we will copy that. We will copy this. So now it shall start working, but for that to work I'll have to switch off my cam because I'm using it somewhere in my this but I still think that will work. Let me try it. So if I just click start scanning, it is going here, and there is a barcode. You can see this, it is opening. Let's hope it opens, because I'm already using it in my uh, file recording, so that's why it might not load, and I'll have to hide from here, and then it might work. So we'll try that. If it doesn't work that way, it looks like I'll need to stop first and then hide myself and then do it. Let me just uh, so let me refresh it, right? And before starting, let me just place a breakpoint here also, that in case it scans, how does it look like, right? And I have kept my intense camera blank or switched off, because then it will be able to access my webcam, otherwise it is busy in my recording one. So I just say start scanning, and hopefully you should see me here soon. Let's just wait. Yeah, I think it will work. Yeah, you see me now. So I have this barcode with me, right, which I have scanned, and it's very fast. So I will just place in front of it and it should be able to scan it. Right, you see this, it is already paused in debugger, and it will show me this 97801 something, whatever is there on the barcode in the alert mode. You see this? So it is scanning super fast, and if I just remove it, all I need to do is just flash and it keeps on scanning it. You see this, right? So that's how, so normally everywhere, wherever you need continuous scanning, these kinds of barcode scanners are like super duper efficient. So now I think, let me just make it a bit more better. Is one is, if I click stop scanning, it will stop, and this, rather than these alerts, we shall have some messages, right? So let's try to bring in those, right? So what I will do is, let's first quickly talk about stop scanning. So stop scanning is like where you kind of hide this division, right? This div which is there, you hide it so that it automatically is not visible. That's how we'll do it. So for that, it's not that tough. So all you need to do is we'll first select that div, right? So for that we'll get this dot by id, which is a common one, and then we will use our same code which we used earlier to copy paste one, right? This will give us the instance, right, of that. And then we say set visible is a property which is available everywhere, and we say false. So we set this visible property as false. So I just want to hide it, right? And along with it I want a message something like mm, uh, that scanning has stopped. So for that, let me just search for message and message box, yeah, something like this, an alert, right? We need an alert. So what I will do is so here we have simple message box. First we will take this, we'll reuse most of the stuff. We'll say message box, copy this, right? And then I want to say message box alert, barcode scanning stopped, right? And then let's see it reloads and does it work or not, right? And then we say start scanning, it is scanning started, which is perfect. And console 3 arrows, these are okay. This takes some time to start the scanner. It will start. Working perfectly fine. And when I say stop scanning, barcode scanning stop, it is hidden. When I say start scanning, and then let's see what happens. Yeah, because we have hidden it, but we have not, set visible is equal to true. We need to hide, we need to kind of uh, enable it so that it is visible. So somewhere we need to enable it, right? So I just copy it, and if I press this function, right, start scanning, we should be having it here. First enable this div, it should be visible, right? And then it should work. Let's just look at it. Start scanning, okay. If I say stop scanning, okay, barcode scanning stop. If I say start scanning, you see this, there are two getting created, but at least the barcode scanning is visible, the camera is starting, it is stopping, but there are two coming. Why? Because each time it is calling this configure and it is already creating a new element. If you look at this, there are two containers being created. You can see two cameras. The previous one is just hidden, it's not closed, right? So it creates two. So in that case, what we should do is somewhere we need to set the flag. So that flag need to somehow be like, in case it is already done, right? Then you do this, else the camera is already running, right, in the background. So you just enable it, so that is visible. So let's do that. So what I'll do is, maybe when our app loads, right, on in it, what we do is we say when our app loads, we set a variable, right, which is false. I say this dot scanning, scanning started is equal to false, right? And once you start the scanning, right, so what you can do is inside this, where you set uh, visible one, right? So what you can do is once this button is pressed, you can you can have something like one is visible if this dot scanning started is equal to false, right? Then you do this whole thing, right? And inside it we set it equal to true, else you don't create another instance because that is already running in the background, right? And one more thing is, I don't want these alerts, right? Something like, let's have this only. Message box alert. We'll have something like scanned value. Oh, right, so now we'll have a beautiful message box when you stop, when you have something scanned, then also, and then it is not going to create multiple instances, right? So we have, let me get my barcode also ready. So I'll say start scanning, it is starting. Let me just check console also in case there is some error, and sources also I don't have any breakpoint, which is good. Hopefully this barcode shall start. Yeah, it is loading, it started, and scanned value is this, right? As I say again, scanned value is this. Beautiful, beautiful. It is doing multiple scans, you can see, right? We can have it, those are like configuration settings. You can configure. If I say stop scanning, it stopped, right? Now the final thing, if I just say start scanning in, and it is again showing me 2. Why? Let me just check it. I say stop scanning. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here. If I say start scanning, if this start scanning started is equal to false. Oh, this one. We are comparing it. So that's why another silly mistake. Copy paste one. So it's all you need to say is this. And hopefully it shall work now. Come on. Start scanning. Good. It shall load soon. Yes, good. I'm ready with my scan. Alert, scanned value has come. Stop scanning. Good. Barcode stopped. Start scanning. Scan. See now, perfect. Great. Okay. So this actually brings us to the end of this small project, which was basically intended to demonstrate how we can use third-party libraries. It's very straightforward. All you need to do is include it in our manifest.json, those resources, right? And then in case you want to load it globally, in case you want to use it for a file base or a controller based one, you can add it here, right? And then once you are done, you can add your typical scanning code, register it on scanned IT, get the key, and you're good to scan. So I hope this made some sense and you really enjoyed it. So hopefully in our next project, which is project number 8, we'll also bring in something new like this. I don't know what, but something new, which is we will explore. So thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for taking your time, and I hope you like the video. Thanks.